Yeah, it's good to see you.
I
Been a
don't
little
have
bit.
public comments.
Okay, good to see you though.
She's capturing those.
Hello guys, Cody Snyder, 619 South Locust. I came a little under a year ago about a problem with the new park over there off of Cherokee, I believe it was, and you guys put up the no parking signs. We greatly appreciated it. It helped out a lot. I just have want a couple updates. Are we gonna get a sidewalk from Pine to Oak and to Center Street on Grand anytime soon as a safety thing? I mean, we're having to cut over a whole block just to get to Center. And I saw that on Pine, they redid the road because it was washing out due to whatever. And I didn't know when the agenda that is to have instead of having to walk a couple blocks up to get to Center. I know the road's it narrows all the way to the tracks. And I know when people do park, that houses that live on Grand on the right-hand side going north, there's not hardly any room to either walk or get another car by. And we have all that land from Grand to the privacy fence of that new subdivision that's more than 28 feet. Just asking for an update on that. And then I live in that subdivision, if I can pull it up on my phone, which is, let's say, from Grand Street to Cherokee. It is older homes, and when there's older people that live in our neighborhood that quite can't afford to fix the sidewalks, didn't know what we can do about that, because we are a lot of times forced to walk in the street because of dilapidated sidewalks that can't be repaired due to catastrophic, events, and just people can't afford that live on fixed incomes but have paid off their homes to fix the sidewalks for us to safely walk on the sidewalks. And all these new subdivisions, I understand we were a new subdivision in 1970. My house was built in 71, but people that can afford it have updated their sidewalks, but people that can't afford it cannot. And
Yeah, I think we could probably, Public Works can take a note on that and look into that probably, I'm sure.
Okay.
Unless you know right away.
Well, we are looking at West Grand Street through there for future upgrades. It's not in the CIP right now, but we're looking at what that project might look like. So we'll take a note of the need for sidewalks.
Yeah, I think the sidewalk has come up before, so I know it was talked about that we might do something the next time we overhaul the road, but who knows when that would be. I didn't know it was coming up already.
Yeah, it would likely get done in a major reconstruction of the road, so we'll dig into what we're going to do with that.
Is that my 5 minutes already? Or did somebody start it? Sorry.
Nothing over here working right now.
Oh, okay.
And then just a quick update
You
on
still
the,
got a couple minutes. According to my
the
clock.
the Center and I-35 bridge. I know we did that 2 years ago is there any update on that? I mean, traffic is getting sometimes ridiculous. I mean, we're from I-35 all the way to Cherokee sometimes, both lanes, because they can't get semis and school buses through the lights fast enough because we don't have a protected left on either way, or north and south, for these semis to get through, and we're backed up for long periods of time trying to get through the light. And is there any update on that?
Yeah.
So that's a KDOT project, and the last update we have is that it's going to letting in March. So they should do a notice to proceed probably early summer and hopefully start construction in the mid-late summer.
Okay. And then my last thing is, I do live in an older subdivision, and I know this is possibly happening in newer subdivisions too, on code violations. I have some neighbors, and not close neighbors, but in my area, that have multiple vehicles with no tags, no nothing. Seems like they're running a a machine shop or a mechanic shop out of their homes. We have some of them that have cranes in their driveway. It's like, are we letting this turn into Wyandotte County?
So we enforce codes based on complaints. So if you want to call in or register a complaint, I think you can do that online, correct? It's kind of the same as the sidewalks. If you register a complaint, then we'll go over and do notice to abate or notice to, that they have to make improvements. And then if they don't, then they can be subject to either a fine or the city will fix it and put a lien on the
Okay.
property.
I did go to codes last year 3 times for a vehicle that was on my road that had expired tags, and I finally was able to stop a Gardner PD that was sitting in the church parking lot and asked him if he can check into it. And it's been sitting in the same spot since July. And I spoke to the loads lady, and she was like, yeah, we were told specifically not go out and look for code violations.
That's
We
correct.
can only look into them if residents complain.
Right,
This is true, yeah.
that's correct.
So if you do the complaint and you don't hear, feel free to email myself,
Mhm.
council. I mean, we'll make sure that it gets addressed.
Okay. And then, I mean, that in general, and just improper parking on public roads. I mean, on our roads, people parking facing the wrong way. I mean, do you have to call in on that too? Or can,
Probably, yeah. I mean,
That one's not really a code. That one you could have police.
Yeah,
item,
police
right?
can handle that. It's,
I
it's,
mean-
you know, if the police see it, it's their discretion on whether they think it's in
Ticketable
traffic
offense.
or it's an issue. So they don't just drive up and down the residential streets and do enforcement like that, but if it's causing an issue, they will definitely try to address it.
but do we have to wait until it's an issue, or can we just, like, maybe check it out every now and then?
If you want to make a complaint, then we'll send
Okay.
somebody out.
No problem. Thank you. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Any other comments? That, we'll move to consent agenda. Is there an item on the consent agenda council would like to remove?
3 and 4.
Items 3 and 4. Do I hear a motion to approve items 1, 2, 5, and 6?
Second?
Motion McNear, second Shoot. We approve consent agenda items 1, 2, 5, and 6. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, abstained. Those items pass. Consent agenda item number 3, consider authorizing the execution of an agreement with the Board of County Commissioners of Johnson County, Kansas to pursue a cost share opportunity to perform inspection of city stormwater system assets.
Kellen, on this wastewater inspection, what is it exactly that we're getting that we aren't doing with our cameras today?
So we currently don't have a camera for stormwater applications.
We
This
don't
is a-
use the water ones at all for it?
We do when necessary, when we're looking at problems or that kind of thing. This is a more concentrated effort to identify really the older, like corrugated metal pipe structures and things, so that we can address the worst of those. It's really an opportunity to get matching funding from the county to basically double our efforts on concerted inspections.
Okay, good enough. That's what I was doing.
Okay.
You want me to do 4 now too?
Yeah, let's do 4. Number 4 is consider accepting a donation from the Ashley Gorney Memorial Fund for the construction of a basketball court at Wynwood Park.
Yes.
Jason's not here. Is this the same plan? There was a resident that came to me 7 years ago and wanted to do this. Is this the same individual that's been trying to do this whole time?
This is the Gorney family. I believe the dad is leading the effort.
Okay,
Yeah.
so not the same, but
Right.
the name was different, so I didn't know if, they were tied together. Okay, thanks, that's it.
Sure.
And actually, I had a question I was going to ask afterwards, but as we install this, the park's kind of off on its own. I know sometimes we've had some vandalism and things there. Do we have we ever put any kind of camera or I don't know the feasibility of that, or even a sign that says, "Hey, there's a camera here." Just to
I
look
can
into
I
it.
can follow up on that. Sure.
Especially when now we have a basketball court,
Sure.
a lot of people gathering. And, issues
Okay.
potentially.
Yeah, we can do that.
Kind of similar to what we talked about over at Veterans.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has a
Yeah.
camera.
Yep, I know. Okay.
Okay, then is there a motion for items 3 and 4?
So moved.
Second.
Motion Baldwin, second Deaton. We approve consent agenda items 3 and 4. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, abstained. Consent agenda items 3 and 4 pass. No planning and zoning, no consent, no committee recommendations, no old business. We move to new business, item number 1. Consider a resolution determining the intent of the city of Gardner, Kansas to issue its taxable industrial revenue bonds in one or more series in an aggregate amount not to exceed $365 million to pay the cost of acquiring, constructing, equipping, and furnishing one or more commercial facilities within the city and approving a form of payment in lieu of tax agreement in connection therewith. Panatone project. Yeah, Matt.
This agenda item is related to the public hearing that occurred earlier, and Bond Counsel Ellsworth gave a presentation on it. Essentially, the resolution before you tonight declares the intent of the city to issue up to $365 million in IRBs for the proposed project and approves the formal pilot agreement to be used with each series of IRBs. The bond shall not be general obligations of the city, nor constitute a pledge of full faith and credit of the city, and shall not be payable in any manner of taxation. The bonds have been requested by the developer for the sales tax exemption on construction materials, equipment, and furnishings. The proposed project would receive a declining scale property tax abatement that averages 75%. It is staff's recommendation that you approve the proposed resolution.
Thank you, Matt. And I believe we do not do public comment. We've already done this as a hearing. So council, do you have questions?
I have a comment. There's no questions.
Go ahead.
So this comes up every time we do a project like this, and we got an email as well. Just to address a couple of things. Any of these projects it'd be nice to not have any abatements and everything comes in and we make money on everything, right? But that's not the way it works. First off, on the sales tax, very few things would be bought in this city, so it really doesn't affect us at all. On the IRBs, that's essentially a developer saying, it's too expensive to build this up front, but I can do it if you let me leverage IRBs, right? It's not on us, it's on them. They're saying, we'll make it work for us if you allow it, right? And then as far as the tax abatement, it's simply a 1 in the hand versus 2 in the bush, right? We could fight with them and say, you can't have this, but this easily could have went to Olathe. In fact, it was in Olathe, and now it's ours. So yes, we're giving up 75% if you want to think of it that way, but it's now in town, and it's still going to generate revenue, and then when the abatement rolls off, it's 100% ours, right? So it's still a good thing. So just to cover some of those that, and then we always have our bond counsel give us an actual detailed analysis, and it was favorable. So it's not like we're just giving away things to people,
No.
right? This is how business is done when there are competing cities, typically, that can offer abatements as well, which is the name of the game these days. So as much as I would love to say you don't get one, this is something we get that we wouldn't have had otherwise.
So, and I'll just piggyback on what you just said, Mark. When we give an abatement, right now that property, that 160 or so acres that's sitting over there, is generating ag property tax. Well, ag property tax is like pennies per acre, okay? I know how that works within Johnson County, all right? So we're getting pennies per acre on that property, as opposed to 25% of full value on industrial buildings, which is a very large amount of money, even at the 75% level. All right, it more than covers the cost of servicing the property, it more than covers the cost of infrastructure. So, and we control that entire intersection. So we don't have to negotiate with other cities in order to be able to do something with Clare and 175th, which is a huge, huge benefit for us. So from that perspective, I don't see any reason why this couldn't work for us. There's no cost up front for us. They are issuing what are called taxable bonds, but those are actually being paid for and vouched for by the developer. We have no impact whatsoever on that from the standpoint of tax or ad valorem tax revenue or anything like that, from the standpoint of taking money away from citizens. So I wanted to make those perfectly clear. There's people out there, especially online, that are saying, "Oh, this is a giveaway. This is a giveaway. We're taking your money and giving it to big developers," and it's not the case. There is no money going to developers here. That developer is spending money of their own, and we're getting a benefit in a 25% amount of taxes. And as Mark pointed out, in 10 years, it goes to 100%. And that's a big win for our city.
And to Mark's point of competing municipalities, we all are aware of when we
Mhm.
are the city that loses out on that. And even though none of us were sitting up here when that happened,
Yep.
thanks, Todd.
It wasn't
That
my
guy.
fault.
Yeah, Todd was.
It wasn't my fault, but anyway.
But we
Yeah.
all know, I mean, we feel it to this day. We are
Yes,
asked
we do.
about it as council members. So we try to learn from the past and move forward and don't make the same.
I think that's an excellent point. I think the idea that this development is gonna go in that area or near that area, kind of,
Regardless, yeah.
I mean, we already saw that it was headed down that path with Olathe, and then we start to lose control over what goes on around the borders of Gardner, which we all don't want to necessarily see. I would also say there's the intangible number of, as those buildings are being built, 2.8 million square feet of buildings, there is the intangible, I don't know how we ever captured it, people working there who are going to spend money in Gardner.
Right next
We're
door.
right
per se.
there on
Yeah.
their, or right there
Yep.
on their doorstep, which we don't get to see. So
Yep.
I think there is some benefit, because normally we wouldn't see this 25%.
Well said.
I just wanted to maybe reiterate what Mark was saying there. 25% is something,
It's better than 100%.
is worth a whole lot more than 100% of nothing. And also having control of that Clare Road intersection. Just one more, Matt, just wanted to reiterate. You said this will not affect our bonding capacity, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. That's another benefit.
Okay. Seem to have consensus. Is there a motion on business item 1?
So moved.
Second.
Whatever.
Give it to them.
All right. Motion Baldwin, second McNair. To adopt resolution 2158, a resolution determining the intent of the city of Gardner, Kansas to issue its taxable industrial revenue bonds in one or more series in an aggregate amount not to exceed $365 million to pay the cost of acquiring, constructing, equipping, and furnishing one or more commercial facilities within the city and approving a form of payment in lieu of tax agreement in connection therewith. Panatone Project. City Clerk.
Councilmember McNair.
Yes.
Councilmember Baldwin.
Yes.
Councilmember Dean.
Yes.
Councilmember Ween.
Yes.
Councilmember Shute.
Yes.
Resolution 2158 passes. New business item number 2, consider adopting a resolution approving the execution of a funding agreement related to a proposed economic development project located within the city, Panatone Development Project. Matt again.
The proposed funding agreement allows the city to retain outside counsel and consultants and to incur other expenses to evaluate the proposed projects to ensure that they are in the best interest of the city, and to conduct financial due diligence to ensure the protection of taxpayers. The applicant is responsible for all reasonable costs associated with the evaluation of the proposed project. Will reimburse the city for these costs. The city will receive an initial deposit of $20,000 from the applicant to pay for legal and consulting fees. The staff's recommendation that council approves proposed resolution.
All right. Council, do you have any questions on this? No? Okay, discuss this. Is there a motion then for resolution 2159?
So moved.
Second.
Motion Shute, second Deaton. We adopt resolution 2159, a resolution of the city of Gardner, Kansas, approving the execution of a funding agreement related to a proposed economic development project located within the city, Panatone Development Project. City Clerk.
Councilmember Baldwin.
Yes.
Councilmember Dean.
Yes.
Councilmember Ween.
Yes.
Councilmember Shute.
Yes.
Councilmember McNair.
Yes.
Resolution 2159 passes. So, welcome, and we look forward to working with you. Tony. Thank you. New New business item number 3, consider an ordinance authorizing the city of Gardner, Kansas to finance community improvement district projects through special assessments without the issuance of a general obligation bonds, all pursuant to Article 12, Section 5 of the Constitution of the state of Kansas. Matt?
The purpose of this home rule ordinance is to allow the financing of community improvement districts with special assessments on a pay-as-you-go basis, as an alternative to the issuance of general obligation bonds. This change will allow the city to have more options in how it utilizes the CID financing tool to promote economic development within the community. Bond Counsel Ellsworth is here tonight and can answer any questions you have specifically about the CID change. Staff recommends that you adopt the proposed ordinance.
Thank you, Matt. Is there any public comment on new business item 3? Council, questions, comments? Is this kind of a unique
Yeah, it's-
approach? Yeah.
Have you seen this before?
On council. Yeah, I mean, has this been done before?
Come on, come on
Is it
up,
kind of unique? Are
Tyler.
we Blazing new trails?
Blazing new trails, that's right, Mayor. No, this has
Kind
been
of.
done, that's right. This has been done in at least one other jurisdiction. And actually, it was the Developers Council that reached out to us and said, hey, we've done this successfully elsewhere. We'd like you to consider it in Gardner for a hotel. It was used for a hotel elsewhere. And so the purpose of this home rule ordinance is to allow us to use the CID special assessment structure without issuing bonds. Typically, if you levy special assessments, you have to issue bonds, and the assessments pay debt service on the bonds. This ordinance allows you to use special assessments on a pay-go basis.
So I'm assuming that this particular ordinance helps to facilitate the next 2.
It does.
Yes,
It
I-
does. And that's why it's placed where it's placed on
Yes,
the
I
agenda. That's right.
understand that. No, I think it's great to think outside the box, and if there's a way that we can use PAYGO in order to be able to do this rather than having to put up, GEO bonds out on the line for that.
Yep.
I'm cool with that. Absolutely.
Yep.
All right. Is there a motion on this item?
So moved.
Second.
Motion shoot, second Deaton. We adopt ordinance number 2820, an ordinance authorizing the city of Gardner, Kansas to finance community improvement district projects through special assessments without the issuance of general obligation bonds, all pursuant to Article 12, Section 5 of the Constitution of the state of Kansas.
Councilmember Deaton.
Yes.
Councilmember Ween.
Yes.
Councilmember Shute.
Yes.
Councilmember McNair.
Yes.
Councilmember Baldwin.
Yes.
Ordinance number 2820 passes. Matt, you're here all night, aren't you?
Pretty much.
Yeah. All right, new business item 4, consider adopting a resolution providing a notice to be given for a public hearing concerning the advisability of the creation of a community improvement district within the city and declaring the intent of the city to levy a community improvement district special assessment pursuant to KSA 12-6A26. Go ahead, Matt.
Gardner Hotel LLC has applied for the use of a community improvement district using the state of Kansas Community Improvement District Act. This incentive request is related to the proposed economic development project consisting of a dual brand hotel. If the CID is created by the city and certain further conditions are met, the city intends to impose a special assessment in the amount of $5 per hotel room night sold within the boundaries of the proposed CID. $3 of this would go to pay the cost of private improvements, and $2 would go towards public improvements. No community improvement district sales tax is being proposed as a part of the CID. The city will not issue any community improvement district bonds to finance the project. The project will be financed on a pay-as-you-go basis. The estimated cost of the project within the CID is $27.5 million. Approximately $22.5 million is related to private improvements and about $5 million related to public-owned infrastructure along 175th Street. This resolution sets a public hearing to consider the establishment of a CID. The public hearing is set for February 17th, 2025 at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time here at City Hall. Staff recommends that you adopt the proposed resolution.
Thank you, Matt. Any public comment? Council, do you have questions, comments?
doesn't sunset at all? Is
CID.
there a period of time? I'm sorry. I
Be
missed that.
20 years.
To 20-year. That's typical for a CID. Question on just the project itself. I think that we'll probably end up approving this, but the question I have more is are there any more details forthcoming on this? Or will those be coming with a potential development application that we would have to?
There'll be
review?
more information at the public hearing,
Okay.
and we're working on a development agreement.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Okay, is there a motion then on this?
So
item?
moved.
Second?
Motion McNair, second Shoot. We adopt resolution 2160, a resolution of the city of Gardner, Kansas, providing for notice of a public hearing concerning the advisability of the creation of a community improvement district within the city and declaring the intent of the city to levy a community improvement district special assessment pursuant to KSA 12-6A26 at Dual Brand Hotel.
Councilmember Wheat,
Yes.
Councilmember Shute,
Yes.
Councilmember McNair,
Yes.
Councilmember Baldwin,
Yes.
Councilmember Deaton.
Yes.
Resolution 2160 passes. Business 5, consider adopting a resolution approving the execution of a funding agreement related to a proposed economic development project located within the city, Dual Brand Hotel.
This item's similar to the funding agreement that you had for the Panatone project. This one's for the hotel project. The proposed funding agreement allows the city to retain outside counsel and consultants to evaluate the project. The city will receive an initial deposit of $30,000 to pay for the city's legal and consulting fees. It is staff's recommendation that you approve the proposed resolution.
Thank you, Pat. Any public comment? Council, any questions? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion Deaton, second McNair.
Got to be fast on the trigger there,
We
Wayne.
adopt resolution 2161, a resolution of the city of Gardner, Kansas, approving the execution of a funding agreement related to a proposed economic development project located within the city, Gardner Hotel LLC.
Councilmember Shute,
Yes.
Councilmember McNair,
Yes.
Councilmember Baldwin.
Yes.
Councilmember Deaton.
Yes.
Councilmember Wheat.
Yes.
Resolution 2161 passes. New business item 6, consider adopting an ordinance authorizing the construction of certain electric system improvements and authorizing the issuance of general obligation bonds of the city to pay the cost thereof, all pursuant to chapter ordinance number 28 of the city, sub 1, transformer 2 upgrade.
On August 5th, 2024, the City Council authorized the purchase of a new transformer for Substation 1. The overall estimated cost of the project is $5.05 million. This amount includes the estimated project cost and the cost of issuance. In order for the city to reimburse itself from future bond proceeds for expenses related to the project, the city must formally approve its intent to do so. Adopting the proposed ordinance fulfills the obligation. Future debt service will come from the electric fund. It is staff's recommendation that you adopt the proposed ordinance.
Thank you, Matt. Any public comment? Council, any questions, comments?
I'm good with the upgrade. Jim, were we gonna repurpose this one to the southeast of there? Or are we sending it back to be refurbished and offsetting the cost? I don't remember what we were doing with
I'll
this.
have to get back with you on that, I don't know.
Okay, I just don't remember. I was curious.
No further questions. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion Deaton, second Ween. We consider adopting an ordinance authorizing the construction of certain electric system improvements and authorizing the issuance of general obligation bonds for the city to pay the cost thereof, all pursuant to Charter Ordinance number 28 of the city, sub 1, transformer 2 upgrade.
Councilmember McNair,
Yes.
Councilmember Baldwin,
Yes.
Councilmember Deaton,
Yes.
Councilmember Wheat,
Yes.
Councilmember Shute.
Yes.
The ordinance passes. New business item number 7, consider adopting an ordinance authorizing the construction of certain electric system improvements and authorizing the issuance of general obligation bonds of the city to pay the cost thereof, all pursuant to Charter Ordinance number 28 of the city, gas turbine upgrade.
On November 4th, 2024, the City Council awarded a gas turbine Unit 2 major inspection and upgrade service contract to the Allied Power Group. The estimated total cost is $3.88 million. This amount includes the estimated project cost and cost of issuance. The proposed ordinance basically fulfills the city's obligation to kind of formally declare its intent to reimburse itself from future bond proceeds. Annual debt service payments will come from the electric fund. It is staff's recommendation to adopt the proposed ordinance.
What ordinances? I think we got.
You have them all now in your folder. I've lost track of where we're at.
This will be 28, 22.
Yeah, it says 22, yeah.
Okay.
All right, any public comment on new business item 7? Council, any questions?
Just housekeeping, right? We already approved this. We already approved we let the
Yeah,
agreement out.
This
so-
basically just lets us use
Just-
bonds to pay
exactly.
pay it back.
Yeah, yeah. Will this be part of the bigger bond issuance, or are we going to just do this as a one-off?
We'll be combining several projects into a bond issuance.
That's what I thought. Thanks.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Steve's getting.
Okay, motion McNair, second Shoot.
Steve.
That we adopt ordinance 2822, authorizing the city of Gardner, Kansas to make certain electric system improvements and authorizing the issuance of general obligation bonds of the city to pay the cost thereof, all pursuant to charter ordinance number 28 of the city. Am I on the wrong one?
No, you're fine, except.
Okay,
say-
gas turbine upgrade, sorry.
Councilmember Baldwin.
Yes.
Councilmember Dean.
Yes.
Councilmember Ween.
Yes.
Councilmember Shute.
Yes.
Councilmember McNair.
Yes.
Ordinance 2822 passes. All right, I'm back on track. New business item number 8. Consider adopting an ordinance authorizing the city of Gardner, Kansas to make certain electric system improvements and authorizing the issuance of general obligation bonds of the city to pay the cost thereof, all pursuant to charter ordinance number 28 of the city, substation construction.
As part of the 2024 Electric Master Plan and 5-year CIP, the city is planning to construct a new substation on Clare Road south of I-35. The city has already taken several steps for this project, including entering into agreement with Olson for the final design, and also an MOU with Evergy for an interconnection facility planned at the substation, and also authorizing staff to go ahead and start ordering a transformer for Substation 4. As the city starts to incur costs related to the construction of Substation 4, it needs to have an ordinance in place to authorize future reimbursement of project costs with general obligation bonds. The estimated total cost is $15.99 million. This amount includes estimated project cost and cost of issuance. In order for the city to reimburse itself from future bond proceeds and expenses related to the project, the city must formally approve its intent to do so. Adopting the proposed ordinance fulfills the city's obligation. Annual debt service will come from the electric fund. Staff recommends that you adopt the proposed ordinance.
Matt, any public comment? Council, do you have any questions?
The next chapter in our expansion plans east of I-35. It's a big one, too.
Okay, yep, absolutely. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion Deaton, second Baldwin. We adopt ordinance 2823, authorizing the construction of certain electric system improvements and authorizing the issuance of general obligation bonds for the city to pay the cost thereof, all pursuant to chart ordinance number 28 of the city, substation construction.
Councilmember Dean.
Yes.
Councilmember Ween.
Yes.
Councilmember Shute.
Yes.
Councilmember McNair.
Yes.
Councilmember Baldwin.
Yes.
Ordinance 2823 passes. All right. New business item 9, consider adopting an ordinance amending chapter 13.40 of the Gardner Municipal Code relating to wastewater rates.
Good evening, Mayor Winters and City Council. I come before you tonight to ask for your consideration in adopting an ordinance revising Chapter 13.40 of the Gardner Municipal Code pertaining to a 4.2 increase in wastewater rates. The 4.2 rate increase was part of the 2025 budget discussions and was needed in order to continue to build financial capacity in the wastewater fund to support the expansion of the Kill Creek Resource Recovery Facility and sewer conveyance system improvements. The 2025 budget was adopted on September 3rd, 2024, so now we just need to pass the ordinance to be able to move forward with the rate increase. The average residential customer's utility bill will see an increase of $2.63 per month for 5,000 gallons of wastewater. And the average commercial customer will increase $8.63 per month for 20,000 gallons. The residential customers would still set a wastewater average during the billing months of December, January, February, and March, with the highest usage being dropped off of that. And then we would also not put these rate changes into effect. They would actually not appear until the March 2025 billing. So I just ask for your consideration.
Thank you. Is there any public comment on new business item number 9? Council, do you have questions about this?
I have a couple.
Okay.
So I know that we had talked years ago about what we needed to do to get the wastewater fund and, and on good footing and not having to get subsidies from the other funds. And totally understand it. I reluctantly supported this rate increase. And we're going to see in a couple of years whether or not we're still on track for 2031, discontinuance. Question I've got really is around what are we doing right now to help to mitigate costs within the wastewater system? How is our I&I looking right now? I know that we had a pretty comprehensive I&I plan that we were looking to be implemented. I think we funded that to that point. Do we have any kind of results on that as to whether or not those efforts are successful in containing costs? Because again, I don't want to have to revisit this another 2 or 3 years and say, okay, we're going to need to extend this increase, because I don't think any of the residents here are going to like that very much.
Yeah, Gons had to back out at the last minute, so I'll
Okay,
get that
thank you.
information to you.
Thank you, I appreciate it, Jim. I want to make sure that we're on track, and I know that we've got a lot of development going on, which brings more into our wastewater system that we have to treat, and I just want to make sure that we're not going to be hitting the customers more. I know we put it off for a long, long time. That's the reason why we're in that situation. But I just want to make sure that we're on plan.
I'm not sure if you have this, because I apologize, I didn't prepare you for this question. What is the average gallons of wastewater usage for residential customers? Is it around 5,000?
It is.
Closer to 10?
It's
Okay.
5, yeah. And that is based over their annual. And so, and then we also look at just the winter when sewer equals water consumption, and it still comes out close to the 5.
Okay.
So the average is 5,000 gallons of wastewater?
Yes.
Wow.
On average, a household, one customer uses 1.5 to 2,000 gallons of water just for their usage in a month.
Okay.
And so that doesn't include any of your outside watering. And so kind of with that sewer, that is on average kind of point.
That explains my question, being an empty nest household.
Same.
2,000.
As we always try, and we do put on the bills to ask people to try to conserve during the winter months because it does impact their wastewater.
Yep.
So we do try to alert customers and tell them that they're setting that average for the summer. So it can be cost savings all summer long if you
agree.
really conserve during the winter months for wastewater.
And then obviously, if we can continue to look at ways to lower the cost curve on our end, and that's where I asked the I&I questions, and I'd love to see that response. When we provide a minute memo or something like that, we can get that. That'd be great.
This is a comment. That'd be very expensive for a family of 5. If you're using 5,000.
You're telling me about it. Tell me about it.
I mean,
I've
I
got-
thought $70 for 2,000 gallons.
Yeah,
Water
yeah.
and sewer was high.
Yeah, I know. That's
Uh-huh.
why I'm asking the questions I'm asking, because I still have a full house.
You're looking at $1.50, dude.
So I
I'm not-
usually look at all the council members and their usage, and so one of you, your average is 9,000 gallons. So we won't say which one that is.
I
but-
think you know which one
Yeah.
that is. Well, I've got teenage boys, okay? So let's just, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, what? Teenage boys don't shout.
Oh, ours do, because we make them.
Empty nesters for the win tonight.
Amy,
Yes.
you said March. Isn't it normally in the past? Hasn't it been February?
So with wastewater, it's always gone into effect on the March billing, so it's February usage on the
February
bill.
usage, okay.
And so water is most generally February, but this year we've done them together. So the water will go into effect on the March billing as well. So they got a month break on the water increase. So.
Thank you.
Thanks, Amy.
All right.
Well, you also got to wash a lot of clothes too when you've got a bunch of teenage boys. So just
Empty nesting has a definite advantage.
Fine, start a GoFundMe for Steve.
okay.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Motion Dean, second Shoot.
Thank you.
Kinda good. Adopt ordinance number 2824, an ordinance of the city of Gardner, Kansas, amending chapter 13.40 of the Gardner Municipal Code relating to wastewater rates.
Councilmember Wheat,
Yes.
Councilmember Shute.
Yes.
Councilmember McNair,
Yes.
Councilmember Baldwin,
Yes.
Councilmember Dean.
Yes.
Ordinance 2824 passes.
Thank
All right,
you.
Thank you.
You seconded your own reading.
Yeah, I know. It's called taking one for the team, Steve.
All right.
Good
Very
for you.
good, very good. We got through that very well. Thank you, everyone. We will move to council updates. Let's start with you. Yeah, you've been pretty quiet tonight so far.
Is that unusual?
Kind of.
Yes.
No new updates this week.
Okay.
Public Works.
Nothing for tonight.
Thank you.
Police Captain.
Nothing from the PD.
Okay.
I have nothing.
No, all right. Matt?
Already heard me speak too much tonight.
Yeah.
You don't have
We were
anything
wondering
else?
next time we'll get you like a sofa chair or something and
Do you
Feel
need
more
somebody to bring
comfortable?
some water?
Maybe
Yeah.
next time.
a mentor or something.
Yes,
City attorney.
Sorry, I was going to the next one there.
I'm forgettable. It's all right. Nothing from me.
I wanted to get some feedback on snow removal and our current ordinance. So we had a number of, big snow this time. Had a number of complaints, as we do when we have snowfall. Our ordinance is 48 hours from the last snowflake, or if it happens overnight, from early in the morning. And we have a number of businesses in the residential areas. I mean, it's pretty common, but we have a number of businesses along US 56, areas, corridors that are key to people that live in areas where they have a lot of disabled residents that don't get cleared on a regular basis. We actually, we're limited in what we're responsible for on Main Street because it's US 56. And even though when sidewalks get clear and they throw snow and block the ramps and sidewalks, we're not responsible for that. This time, because of the amount of snow and because of the longevity of, or the time that the sidewalks were blocked, we sent out crews to clear some of the areas on Main Street where, especially on Elm, where all four corners were blocked and everything. Our general notice of abatement is mailed, and they have 5 days from the date of mailing to abate the problem. Typically in snow, in 5 days it's usually gone. Wanted to see if there was any interest in carving out the snow removal part of our code, where after 48 hours we give a verbal warning and give them an additional 24 hours, and then we can do like we do with grass. We can abate it ourselves, and then they have 30 days to pay the amount, or we put a lien on the property and register it with the county. That's a big change. It would make us kind of an outlier in the county. I mean, Overland Park, I think Lenexa or Leewood, one of them, they don't even have a snow removal requirement. It's suggested that they clear their sidewalks. We could even limit it to certain corridors, like down Center Street to the north, down 56 Highway for businesses on both sides of the sidewalk, and potentially on Moonlight. But that's kind of the suggestion that was made so that we can address this issue, so that there's some access for people that are challenged to get groceries and drugstores and things like that.
I've always wondered why. Excuse me. I've always wondered why we never really carved out a different way to do this for arterial roads. Because when you're looking at the way that like a lot of people who are, are disabled from a motor standpoint, they are taking those arterial sidewalks, and they don't usually take the side streets. They usually just go straight down those large thoroughfares. And there's a reason. It's because the sidewalks are better kept up in a lot of cases, and they're wider. So I would almost say that, especially for the downtown district, where we're looking for some more, pedestrian use of those thoroughfares, I think that we probably need to look at something very similar to that, especially when there's been a large snowfall. There's sometimes, a lot of those folks who are in those areas that are disabled, they don't have a way to get out, and we have to be cognizant of that. If that means that we have to maybe accelerate the time frame on that, or potentially just do it ourselves, and then bill the property owner at cost, that would be something that we could. It's almost like an offer. It's not really a punitive step. It's an offer to those businesses. We'll take care of it, but we're going to charge you the cost. So
I'd like to add to that, Steve. One of the things that I've noticed just personally on Madison, which is a major artery, between the Greenway, the trail, and the Baptist church, there was a long stretch of sidewalk that didn't get shoveled or cleared for about a week and a half, and well into school back and forth. And that sidewalk is used by a lot of students.
and a lot of folks in wheelchairs.
I will give you a personal anecdote to that. I ran down Madison on Friday morning, and that was still not cleared.
Yeah,
it was not cleared until...
Whose land is that?
Honestly, I'm not sure.
It's west of the church.
It's the property owner.
Well-
You're talking about on the south side, right?
Yeah,
No, on the
I'm
north
sorry,
side.
North side. And my experience was right in front, right past the Greenway, all the way almost to Moonlight. And I had to move out into the street, which wasn't
that's
safe.
Grace Baptist there. That's,
No, it's past that.
yeah.
No, it was the Greenway to Moonlight.
Then it's
Yeah.
gonna be that subdivision.
It's
gonna
the
be those property
subdivision,
owners.
but it's also the church that's right there too.
But I think there's still property between the church.
There's some vacant, I'm talking about the land along that vacant property.
Yeah, we'd have to identify an owner.
It is,
I think it'd be good if we did.
it's cleared now, but it's between, it's and I don't remember which church it is, it's right there, but it's right past the Greenway, headed east on Moonlight. Right, headed
And
east.
Madison is
But
actually
also-
a collector,
Oh.
so it wouldn't fall under an arterial designation.
And that's fair. I think, driving up and down, after we got some of the feedback that we got, I was disappointed that a lot of our businesses along Main Street didn't do any sort of, and it was kind of hit and miss. And I don't know if there's just confusion about them not knowing it's their responsibility.
Oh, they know.
No,
They know.
Well,
Because
not-
we
We'll elaborate.
yeah, we've had
I
multiple
know
discussions
about
about that.
the downtown where we went from clearing it to not clearing it, and all of the drama around that. Not maybe drama isn't, but all the way down to Moonlight, Freddy's.
Yeah.
I mean, it was very disappointing.
So, I like the idea, but one of the things that Steve said kind of caught my ear, that, if we do it at the 48-hour, the 24-hour warning, one, do we have enough staff that's not already clearing our own stuff? And if we're doing it at cost, what's to stop them from saying, the city will take care of it, it's cheaper than me going out and doing it myself, and then we just become a snow removal service. And then we have
understand
so
that.
many businesses that are just like, it's easier just to have the city do it and bill me.
Like
So what
the-
we typically do on mowing is we have a contractor take care of it.
yeah.
Okay.
So it's not necessarily, work hours.
So it'll be their
for an
charge, it'll be
employee.
their
It's
charge.
a set cost that they
Okay.
do.
I just don't want us to turn into a snow removal service.
Oh, no.
Or even just the
I'm not expecting
the
that.
middleman for
Well,
snow
and this was
removal.
difficult because I drove by where the dome and everything was clear, and then you drive by an hour later and either melting or somebody hit it and it just falls in, and it's the same thing an hour later. So, and we didn't do curb to curb this time because we didn't want to push all that snow on the sidewalk because then it's almost impossible to clear. And then you have instances where it's there, it melts, and then it freezes again. It's almost impossible to get off. Our ordinance currently says you have to put down salt or some type of chemical to get rid of it, and that satisfies the requirement. But this snow was atypical for.
It was, and I agree, because the accessibility, especially with this snow, was just awful. We went out and did our sidewalk in our neighborhood, you know, knowing that kids have to walk to school at some point, but we were few and far between. You could see the footprints when they went back to school, and it was tough.
And when we clear domes and KDOT comes by, they're not coming back. I mean, I can tell you,
Nope.
they're not going to come back and
Nope.
fix that issue. So that's another problem. You know, people say, yeah, I cleared it, and then the snowplow came by and buried it again.
So, yeah, there's a lot of facets to this, right? So, like Steve said, the main arterials are a big source of where people are going to use, right?
Yep.
But at the same token, on a big storm like this that makes it harder for that to get cleared off, those same people that are disabled might have not gotten out.
Yep.
Right? So maybe they don't care for 2 days. Not saying that's 100%, but it's a possibility. Then you have that downtown, you know, had the opportunity, was going to supposedly create an alliance to handle all of that. Didn't
Cost
do
sharing,
it.
yep.
But you're like, well, that's your problem. And at the same time, wouldn't you want to clear it so that your business can have people come in and out? But then you have, well, yeah, if it gets cleared and then it gets thrown back again, and they've already had their contractor out, they might not be able to get him back.
Yeah.
Right? I would love to see data, which I know we don't have, that as to how easy it is for those people to get their contractor. Because some people complain, hey, I have a contract, but the guy can't get to me because there's 6 people in front of me, right? So then, well, they have to have 2 contractors. So it's an interesting idea. I'm willing to give it a shot. I think for the purpose of, or in the spirit of helping those that need to get through those passageways, right?
Yeah.
It is a pain. You know, Gary sent us an email. You know, he showed some spots where the what do you call it? The ramp, you know, had frozen over. Well, it melted probably, or had some chemicals on it, and it refroze, right?
Yep.
So people aren't going to go treat that every day, probably. So I don't expect 100% improvement here, but just knowing that there's the possibility of getting it taken care of by the city, meaning i.e. a fine, essentially, might put a little, you know, fire under them. So I'm good with giving it a shot.
I reiterate that this carve-out would only be for arterials and special commercial districts like downtown, and that's it. It wouldn't be for any other place in the city. The rest would keep it the same. I'm assuming that from the standpoint of residential, I think most conscientious people actually took care of those snow things. I know that we've got one neighbor in our cul-de-sac that, you know, loves to use a snowblower for some reason. He's like obsessed with it. So, but yeah.
Well, consider yourself lucky.
Are we interested in doing all the arterials in the city?
I would be.
Even like 167th and
183rd.
The sidewalks on 167th are pretty
Sparse.
No, there aren't any.
Yeah, not yet.
Yeah, but 183rd
yet.
definitely, because that's a safe route to school.
We do those.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do safe routes to school.
Right, safe routes, the city.
Yeah.
So 167 is not an issue.
Could we maybe get a map and maybe an agenda item?
Yes.
Sure.
Maybe.
Yeah.
And then we can actually put together a map. And
No, I agree.
Because we'd have to change the ordinance. The
Yeah.
map would be part of the ordinance.
Because then maybe it's arterials and then a few like special circumstances, because the arterials
Madison would
isn't
be a
going to
prime
solve.
example of what you're talking about, Kate.
Yeah, so if
I
we
mean,
had.
that's used by
Madison Grand.
3 elementaries and 2 middle school, and the high school for students to get back and forth and walk back and forth to school.
So maybe
Okay.
if we had that and then had it as an agenda, because I think we're all in favor of making an improvement, but a map and really mapping out where the best place to use this would be.
Yeah.
ideal.
Something else that just occurred to me. The gentleman spoke earlier during comments. His question about expired tags, you know, this kind of relates to the same type of thing. This just occurred to me, and I apologize for not knowing the ordinance. what are our ordinances as far as cars being parked for extended periods of time on residential streets? And do we need to consider while we're doing this, having some kind of a snow ordinance? I know all over town, there's neighborhoods where cars were parked and the snow was there on top of the cars for like 6-7 days.
I could have sworn we had something that in our code that stated that the residents, maybe it wasn't a
48 hours, as I recall.
Yeah, but I'm thinking of like
that was for trailers and campers and.
Yeah, it's not specific to snow. I mean, we
It's
don't
not
have,
snow specific.
We don't have
Okay.
an emergency.
Isn't
snow
it that
order.
you have to move the vehicle every 72 hours?
72 or
Yes.
48?
So would it be appropriate, when we have snows like we had this last time, and it's obvious, 72 hours later the car wasn't moved because it hasn't been cleared off? Would that be something that we could make it an exception for our first responders to start ticketing those vehicles?
'Cause it's causing
the
a
obvious
hazard.
part you can't. I mean, you have to have. There's.
Well, there's snow, 6 inches of snow
Right.
still on top of the car 5 days later.
Well, hold on, what's the intent?
Yeah.
Get it so our public works people can get these residential streets actually clean.
I get that, but this would be an exception to, like we told that gentleman, that a code is driven by a complaint. Now, we would be saying, hey, you saw it.
I agree. That's why I'm asking it as a question. Because and the other question would be, do we need to consider a residential snow ordinance that says, you gotta get your cars out the street, folks?
We talked about this a few years
Yes,
ago.
we did.
When we were talking about blocking sidewalks. And there's a number of houses in the city where you can't park in your driveway without blocking the sidewalk.
On the setback.
So then they park in the street.
Well, so which is worse, blocking the sidewalk for a little while or not having your streets cleared?
Well,
In
a
snowstorm.
if
Literally,
you're saying Public Works drove by and saw that you hadn't moved your car, but they also hadn't parked over the sidewalk, now they've done 2 offenses.
So literally, there are. I hate to say the word literally. Oh, I gotta stop doing that. There are properties in this city, especially in the older neighborhoods, where there's not enough setback between the street and the house.
I agree.
To park more than 2 cars. If a homeowner has more than 2 cars, there's no place to park that third car. They try to pull in their driveway, they're gonna stick out into the street anyway. So that's another problem that we've got, is that you're gonna have houses like that.
If we were going to entertain anything with that, I think you want to look at, like you do in Colorado or someplace else that gets a lot of snow, and you just say everybody has to park on one side of the street, and that way they can plow the other side. And yes, they might get plowed in on the other side, but the plow can go down the one side and it's all taken care of.
Well, the reason I was asking these questions is I grew up in a state where there were snow ordinances throughout the winter every year because the streets couldn't get cleared. And, Mark, that's a good idea, one side or the other. And, just to make it so that Kellen's people can have a little easier time trying to get these things cleaned up. By the way, they did a pretty daggone good job.
Well, and I don't know, Kellen, if you can talk to how much of a problem that really was. I know most everybody in my neighborhood was like, we got to get. I know I had to get vehicles off the street so you could come by.
There are areas that are worse than others. I mean, the goal with this amount of snow is to get enough of the road cleared so 2 cars can pass each other comfortably without shoving a bunch of snow back into people's driveways where they've already cleared. For the most part, it's pretty good. There's certain areas where it's worse than others.
I feel like the more cars in my driveway, the less driveway shoveling I have to do.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true.
That works
That's
for
an
us.
empty nester problem?
Yeah, I had a lot less cars this go around.
I mean, I don't know about an ordinance or anything. I just, continued awareness and continued campaign to
Are you talking about the cars, or are you talking now about the sidewalks?
the cars.
Okay.
Cars.
So,
Because I think the sidewalks we have, are we in agreement that we at least
Yeah.
want to look at that?
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I think we will.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I think with snow, it's similar to some other issues we have in town, but it's definitely one that people don't pay attention to the details of until you
It
get
happens.
10 inches of snow. And then all of a sudden it's, why is my street not cleared? Because yours is last. Why is it you plowed it and threw stuff back on my sidewalk or my driveway? Because that's how plowing works. Why can't I not get through the 4 feet of snow at the end of the sidewalk that I already cleared? Because there's nowhere else for 10 inches of snow to go. I mean, I get it, it's an inconvenience, but, you know, first world problems here.
Well, I agree, and this, Jim and I had talked about here a little while ago. Maybe not so much the snow ordinance, but your idea, Mark, of limiting parking to one side of the street in collector streets and neighborhoods. I'm thinking of Colleen Court as a prime example. When there's like Super Bowl parties and these kind of parties, you'll have people parking on both sides of the street, and for like half a block or a block, there's only one lane, and two people try to go in there, it's chicken. You're playing chicken, and maybe some of these streets that aren't narrow enough, that you can't. When you're parking on both street sides, there's only one lane through. Maybe we ought to consider taking a look at having parking on one side of those streets only.
Here's my thoughts on that, because while I think it's a great idea, and they do it in Colorado, and they get a lot of snow throughout the entire winter, this type of event doesn't happen for us very often. So if we're expecting 2 inches of snow, do we make people move their cars or not, because it's not 2 inches of snow? And then, because this doesn't happen very often, the even idea that people would remember that this ordinance was passed 3 years ago, and then the next large snow event is going to be pretty rare, and I think we're going to have a lot of violations.
Casey, I'm talking about streets where there's, in residential areas where there's collector streets in the neighborhoods, and the collector street is not wide enough to have cars parked on both sides with 2 cars can pass through, and make that towards parking one side of the street only, and sign it and do it year round. So it's a safety issue more than anything else.
I mean, it's an idea. I wouldn't say let's jump on that immediately, mainly because there's details of it that are difficult. Like, what do you do in a cul-de-sac? Which
That's
side
not a
of the
collector,
street? Well, it's the end of a collector. So I come down the right side, and all the cars are on the left, and now where do the people on that curve go? There is no left or right, right? So, or they're all on this side, now they blocked 3 driveways. Right? So there's issues with that. It's an idea. I wouldn't say let's run with it tomorrow. Right? We'd have to flush that out a little bit more. So.
Yeah, I think we've given council, I think we've given the staff some direction on that, so.
Do you have anything else?
Nope.
Councilman McNear.
I said everything I said.
I'm done. Let's go.
Councilman Ween.
I thank you for bringing that up. I think with the snowfall, it's time for us to probably talk about it, and also appreciate all the stuff that's going on. This was a nice, tidy little agenda. Thanks to Matt for doing all the work tonight.
Yeah, some serious heavy lifting there.
Yes. All right, Council Vice President.
I want to thank Danica and her team for the Martin
Yes.
Luther King exhibit. I heard it was very well attended yesterday, and I know Friday and Saturday had people come through too. It's always a great display, and she does amazing work on that. And then I saw on Facebook about power outage, but then by the time I got home, it was back up. What happened, and how fast did we get everybody back up?
Conestoga got
So
affected by that?
circuit number 21, through a breaker, we turned it back on, I think 20 minutes was
Nice.
max. So.
I think some people were a little bit panicking when they lost their power and it's freezing outside, but I'm glad that we got it working so fast. So kudos to everybody on that. And that's it.
Council President. Nothing else?
Oh, timeout. I have one more thing. Sorry.
Sure.
I yield my time.
Let's all remember about the open house tomorrow for the half-cent sales tax. If you have questions about it, if you have concerns, if you just want to learn, please take your time to come out to the Justice Center and ask your questions and look at the graphics that we have and the displays that we have and ask your questions so that you can be properly informed.
That's good. How about that?
Very good. Thank you. I also want to thank Danica for the great Martin Luther King Jr. Exhibit, and she was able to get Fox 4 out, and Casey started it off live at 8 o'clock and got us going, got us rolling. So we got some good publicity out of it.
There you go.
It was great. Yeah. Also, I want to congratulate Nora Cooper, was appointed municipal judge, or will be appointed municipal judge. I think she'll do a great job. She's currently our prosecutor. And then I want to thank and recognize our previous municipal court judge, Robin Lewis. She was there for 20...
Long time.
Long time. Yeah, she's been in a lot of public service.
We wouldn't have the courtroom we have today if it weren't for.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. So, thank you.
Well, if we pass something for ordinances with snow,
I think we beat that horse.
That horse is dead.
And that, I think that's it. So, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Motion D, second shoot. We adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained?